Hi everyone, it's Katie Crysdale here from Lakeview Aquatic Consultants. Welcome back, or welcome if you are new here. So, hopping on here this week to talk about the November 12th, 2025 weekly newsletter. If you are new to these videos, each week I hop on and I spend a little bit of time talking about the newsletter, why I included the articles that I did, and any particular trends that I'm noticing in the aquatic industry. So, in a different location today, so hopefully this audio works out as we're Wi-Fi at the airport. I am headed to the IAPA Expo in Orlando today. Very, very excited to head back to this event. The newsletter, as always, is linked directly down in the description box below. This is the November 12th, 2025 newsletter, and the title of this particular newsletter is A Mentality of Mediocrity. So I don't go through every single item in the newsletter, but the goal is for you to be able to listen to this audio version and pick out the topics or articles that you have the time and the interest to go back and read. Every newsletter starts out with a little bit of an op-ed piece. And in this particular week, I shared an learning moment where I realized that I was experiencing something as a customer that I had often heard as a complaint when I was a municipal pool manager. So, when I was a municipal pool manager, one of the most vociferous compliments of the population that I would hear from would be our senior citizens, our aquafitters. And they would often say they were concerned that their time was being shortened or their ranking as they thought it was at the pool was being demoted in favor of kids and families. And that was never the goal, but the idea was that the purpose of any pool manager is to balance the needs of different groups and to make sure that everybody has equal access to the pool. So, in this particular newsletter, I shared how at my gym that I go to, a couple times a year, there's a 30-day challenge. During that 30-day challenge, the gym is completely overrun by new people, which is the purpose of a challenge or having an open house to bring in new customers. And it brought me right back to being a municipal pool manager when some of the other members of my gym were complaining that they feel underappreciated when it's hard to get into gym, consistently buying memberships, consistently product, and is gym management prioritizing new shiny customers to get them through the door? I didn't necessarily agree with the other gym members, but I definitely, for the first time, had a fresh perspective on this issue that has often. Further down in the newsletter, I talked about we are the last few certified pool operator classes of the year. So registration is coming up very shortly for those in November and December. And then we will have a $15 price increase coming for all certified pool operator classes in 2026. The complete schedule is available on our website, so you can click the link in the description box. Backing up, okay, when do they need to be certified? When do we need to conduct the training? What does that look like in terms of budget approvals? Further down in the newsletter, we always then go into some different news stories that I see across the week. And this week, the most viral news story was certainly the North Dakota hotel that was cited for a worker soaking stained sheets in the hot tub or spa after hours. And the most funny thing about this particular story is that management said that they coached the employee not to do this within sight of guests, i.e., to wait until the guests leave, like the pools are closed for the night, which was funny because they basically missed the plot that you should not be soaking any laundry, any clothing, anything in your basins. That's not the purpose. I could understand if you knew anything about chemistry, hypochlorous acid, oxidation, but I don't think it goes that deep. I think it's a true misunderstanding of the purpose of the basin. It's not a vessel for laundry. Further down, a few articles that we shared include a new project in North Vancouver to put out some floating docks and create a pool type shape in open water. This is being funded by the Weston family, who needs some good news recently with the bread price fixing scandal here in Canada. This is very similar to structures I've seen in Europe, including most recently in Switzerland when I was there last year, and then in Oslo, Norway, earlier this year. Further down in the article, Further down in the newsletter, we shared some articles about a child who drowned in a Malaysian swim class in Kuala Lumpur. We shared an article regarding Illinois looking at the regulation of ice baths, cold plunge in public facilities, which is absolutely necessary. So Illinois is somewhat ahead of, maybe not ahead of the trend, but on top of the trend. Shared the announcement that Therm Group, who many of you might know is associated with the Ontario Place project in Toronto, the beloved park that's being converted to a for-profit spa. They also have projects ongoing in the UK. They have an existing site in Bucharest, and they've just announced a partnership with the government of Singapore in Asia to build a very large well-being destination, which I thought was, really interesting that they have all of these ongoing projects. How is that going to impact them? Could they potentially be over leveraged in terms of financing or management or operational skill? It'll be interesting to see what happens. Another piece of concrete fell from the ceiling of the Vancouver Aquatic Center. This is obviously concerning because the pool was open for use. It narrowly missed a swimmer who was swimming laps, and this is already the second time that this has happened in less than 2 years. So it does cause you to wonder what's happening with the stability of the concrete. And the last I checked, the pool was still closed pending further investigation for safety. I showcased a pool in Las Vegas that is going to be staying open all of year round. This has always been really interesting to me because in the times I've been to Vegas in the quote winter, November, December, January, certainly it is colder if you're a resident of Nevada. But for those of us who come from climates where it snows, I would absolutely use a heated pool outside in Nevada or Las Vegas in November, December. But most of the hotels close their pools basically by October, which was my experience at the World Water Park Association show a few years ago. I went to a number of hotels and only a few of them stayed open all year round. So I do think that this particular destination in Vegas is going to do really well with year-round heated outdoor pools, bar service, food service, gaming, TVs, sportscasts, that sort of thing. Shared a couple of different projects. The town of Outlook in Saskatchewan is converting their pool into a new space. A Freedom of Information request regarding pools in Scotland. Talked about an outdoor pool in Korea where they're using to create like it's a pool basin, but it's not necessarily recirculating, and a lot of care and maintenance goes into a project like that, operating a seaside ocean-filled pool. That's why it's not an easy solution. A lot of people think, we'll just put some ocean water or some hot spring water in a basin, and that doesn't exempt you from regulatory requirements in a lot of places, especially Canada. We don't have flow-through pools like that. They do in places like Colorado, Wyoming. It looks like Korea, maybe the ocean pools in Australia, but it is something to be aware of. I shared an article I loved regarding working with little kids having tantrums. This is back from my day when I was a swim instructor, and it would have been very, very helpful to better understand little kids having tantrums. Shared some articles about the economy that I think are relevant in our industry. A new bill that would have a specific Amber type alert for autistic children in Ohio. Article about Medellin in Colombia becoming a swimming type of city, like with an emphasis on swimming. A swim instructor in the Netherlands arrested for sex crimes. Those did not necessarily occur at the pool. We don't know the location where those occurred. And so it is important to know that that doesn't mean anything untoward happened at the pool. Shared a few other articles pertaining to some changes in a river wave in Munich, Germany, drowning statistics in U.S. geriatric populations, a article that reflects the ongoing trend where customers are being a lot more violent in our facilities. This was at a trampoline park specifically where parents were fighting with staff who were assaulted, but this does reflect, I think, unfortunately, a bigger trend that we're seeing where people have just They've had it up to here since COVID, and they're just not willing to engage in basic etiquette or basic politeness when they're out in public. Shared another pool that is now going to be open year-round, where they're going to be putting an inflatable dome over the outdoor pool to increase access, often because people can't afford to build a whole new pool in this economy. We shared a project near Montreal, Mirabel, Quebec, that actually seems to be getting off the ground after years of discussion. When I was at the World Water Park Association show a few weeks ago, I actually ran into a supplier who claimed that they had shipped equipment to that project site, so it may actually be happening. Shared a few other articles regarding master plans for facilities, naming rights at a particular aquatic center, and then wrapped up with 2 new videos, one which is from a few months ago, actually didn't get posted, regarding my concerns with the Canadian nonprofit Participation taking substantial corporate naming sponsorship from the Danish drug company Novo Nordisk, who is known for producing GLP-1 drug weight loss products like Wegovy, as well as a video about how emails are not private. So that is it for this week. I will join you next week. As always, we'll talk about the newsletter. If there was anything you particularly liked about the newsletter, please let me know in the comments below, and I will catch you in the next video.